I'm a bird, mother. I'm a bird.
I bet.
But this time it's not a SAG-AFTRA situation. Director segregates VAs by race to get it right for the modern audience. That's why I wanted to check out the video. This title alone made me perk up, like, what is happening?
Hey, what's up, guys? Riff here. So there's been a lot of drama in the English voice acting scene over the past couple of weeks and months. We spent some time talking about the gaggle of Karens who are crashing out to this day because their pretend strike on Hoyoverse got exposed for what it actually was. But today we're doing something a little different. We're looking at a disturbing trend that is being pushed more and more in the voice acting field, and it's highlighted by this right here, which innocently enough begins with the movies subreddit, where you see this Ask Me Anything being hosted by this casting director named Jenny Jue. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but she is someone who, if you look at her resume, she's very accomplished as a casting director. She did films like Snowpiercer, Inglourious Bastards, Avatar: The Last Airbender Season 2, but if you scroll down here, you also notice she has some upcoming projects like The Legend of Aang, The Last Airbender, and that is something that is mired in some controversy because that is supposed to be a part of 3 films that are basically continuing on where the series left off, and I think it's focusing more.
Wait, so is it like a reboot and continuation?
No, it's not rebooting. It's the continuation where they search for Zuko's, I think, mom.
Okay.
On their adulthood adventures, and there's something odd about it. The entire original cast is gone in terms of the voice actors, and that's a mistake.
Wait, what?
It's focusing more on their adulthood adventures, and there's something odd about it. The entire original cast is gone in terms of the voice actors, and that's a mistake. And
Wait, why?
Why?
I don't think anyone had any issues with the original ones. That's so weird.
makes people kind of scratch their heads because they had very iconic performances that a lot of people really cherish when they look back at them. So what's going on here? Why did they get rid of all of these iconic opportunities here, these iconic roles that these people performed? Most of them are still in the business. All of them are still alive. So what's going on here? And that was something asked in the Ask Me Anything, where this person said, is there any reason why you guys decided not to bring the original cast back for the ultimate nostalgia trip? The characters' voices are just so iconic and distinct, I find it hard to really accept anyone else in their roles. Plus, promoting the movie with the original actors coming back would break the internet and truly feel like the original show is back. And I agree 100% with some of these claims that are being made here. But this casting director would.
I love the original series so much, for crying out loud. I named my cat Zuko. So this is confusing to me.
Would respond saying this: I told Mike and Brian that I understood how important it was to get this right for them and for the fans, because I'm a fan too, also my favorite IP. Since the original show was released, there's been more emphasis in voiceover to match actors' ethnic/racial background.
So the shit that ProZD started.
Oh my, ProZD, bro.
Yeah, it's literally, I don't know how many people here actually know about how far back this goes. There was a voice actor, well, I think he's still an active voice actor, who started the whole thing where the ethnicity of the voice actor needs to match the character, since at that time it was really popular to voice, anime and stuff like that, and he's Asian. So he started that campaign, and then he stopped getting casted to voice other characters, and people started making fun of him, like, okay, you literally did that to yourself.
To the characters they're portraying. ATLA is a fictional world, but there are cultural influences for each nation/kingdom, and we wanted to explore the talent from those groups. Well, first of all, good luck finding some benders in the English voice acting scene. Like, seriously, are you going to go to the Fire Nation to try to find people who will properly represent these characters? This is so ridiculous. I'm going to get on my soapbox.
This is going to be really bad. And this is also opening like the floodgates of which nation in Avatar is representing who. There's gonna be a lot of people using it for inappropriate jokes on Twitter. This is genuinely opening a really big stupidity floodgate.
No
This is so
way.
stupid.
Once again about this topic just for a second here. It's such a shame because in the entertainment industry, voice acting is one of the very few fields where it's just merit based, or it should just be merit based because nothing about your physical appearance
Yeah.
matters whatsoever. It's just your voice. Your race doesn't matter, your ethnicity doesn't matter.
It's as if people have been saying this for months now, maybe even years now. Can people start getting their job based on merit and skill and talent and not what kind of ethnicity you are? So stupid.
The way you present yourself doesn't matter. Even your gender doesn't matter. It's about providing a good voice for.
That is very true. And anime definitely paved the way and showed that the gender doesn't even matter either. Fluffy, voiced by a woman. Goku, voiced by a woman.
Naruto, voiced by a woman.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter as long as you're good at what you're doing.
For a character, and all of this nonsense about having to understand the background of these characters in order to give a proper performance is totally ridiculous. It's one of those things, it's meant to be so progressive and yet it is so regressive, and all it does is segregate people based on the color of their skin and limit their opportunities based on the color of
So chat would calm down. Ash Ketchum from Pokemon, also voiced by a woman. Are you guys happy now? Can I continue with the video?
their skin. It's ridiculous. And it's something we have talked about before with ProZD. You might recognize him from his popular YouTube channel. He's also a voice actor, and pretty much from the jump in his voice acting career, as we talked about in previous videos.
I already knew ProZD is going to be pointed out here, so.
Was trying to propagate this idea of authentic casting. And that's what we're talking about with this.
What do you mean by authentic casting? It's voice acting.
Bro, it's just a voice, man. Your voice box, bro. Relax. It ain't that deep.
Like, I genuinely wouldn't even care if it's a thumb in a jar voice acting, as long as it fits.
Current situation where he is espouting this belief that you have to match the ethnicity of the character you are playing, which is so unbelievably ridiculous. Think about it in a logical way here. With someone like ProZD, who's in the anime industry, like, imagine the anime dub industry if this was actually practiced. Pretty much everyone would be out of a job. Unless you were a Japanese-born English voice actor, you wouldn't be able to play pretty much any of the roles. Imagine if you were a black voice actor in the anime industry. All of your opportunities would just evaporate. Maybe 1 out of every 1,000 characters would be something you could have a chance at voice acting. The ones you'd be allowed to voice act, by people like ProZD. And of course, you think about some of the other iconic performances where someone's ethnicity or their gender didn't match the character they played.
This is the first time I see who voiced Samurai Jack, and I think it was an amazing cartoon. This is my childhood right there.
Would have lost these performances if
it's as if it doesn't matter who the voice actor is as long as it's well done. Crazy thoughts.
Exactly.
If it was going the way that people like ProZD and this casting director want things to go, these people would not have had these opportunities, and you wouldn't have legendary voices like from Samurai Jack. It'd be such a shame if we actually listened to these maniacs who are trying very hard to push this thing. And it's, again, an absolute shame. And of course, if you watch the previous videos I made about ProZD, you know how that ended for him. Reaping.
I got an audition for prominent cartoon where I was sent just the Asian character. Looking through the rest, I told my agent, hey, I'm happy to read for this, but can I read for some of the others? To which I was told, oh, those characters are drawn as white, so no.
Yeah. Get screwed over for what you said.
Honestly, karma.
stupid.
He's the one who started it all, and then he complains about what he started. I love this.
Versus sewing, ladies and gentlemen. He eventually would make a tweet back in 2023 where he said, "Oh my god, I was told I couldn't do this role because the character is drawn as whites." Yeah, no kidding. You literally asked for this, dude. And he got absolutely blasted. Full reaping versus sowing moment. And he would eventually delete this tweet and block anyone who talked about it or dared to point out the hypocrisy of everything.
Does he still do that? Is he still trying to bury it? I know that ProZD and all of his friends have Rev blocked. And I know they try to like say some shit about Rev too every time he brings it up. So are they still like that group and specifically ProZD still a little butthurt about it? No one is even doing anything to you. They're just literally pointing out your words.
Everything, including myself, by the way. And yeah, we know how that ended. And that's exactly what should have happened for someone advocating for this sort of stuff. But this is a very bad mark on what could be a very fun project with this set of movies coming out for Avatar. You can see this, I think it's a fan account, like this is not their fault for making this headline, they're just reporting what's happening. But this is getting incredibly negative reaction. Pretty much you can't find a positive.
Aang the Last Airbender, casting director on why some of the original voice cast has been replaced for the upcoming film. Since the original show was released, there's been more emphasis in to match actors' ethnic/racial background to the character they're portraying. Push from where? Who's pushing it?
I don't know. So who are they gonna find for this? I didn't even know there was a racial thing.
It's an imaginary world. No, I'm wondering who's pushing it. I'm pretty sure people who actually watch it don't give a damn. I'm pretty sure everyone was excited about the original voice actors, if anything.
Interaction with this post, and why would you? Imagine if this was flipped, right? Imagine if the headline was, Aang the Last Airbender casting director says, we're bringing back the original cast to voice these characters. People would go nuts. This tweet would bang. People would be in the reply section giving a standing ovation. They would be like, wow, that's so based. What a great thing. Oh my god, a nostalgia overload.
Yeah, it would be the same effect that Cobra Kai had. Bring in the people who were in the Karate Kid.
It was such a missed opportunity, and it's because they're following this very destructive mindset. It's not because they think this is going to provide the best voices, or they're foolishly believing that. They're doing this because they want to propagate this woke notion that people can't voice characters that they don't share.
Wait. Right, and the VA for Zuko needs to have a burn scar so he matches?
Yeah, so he can understand what Zuko went through. I think he's the only one coming back.
Okay, you guys are pushing it now. All of you are pushing my nerves now.
A skin color with. It's absolutely ridiculous. You are not helping anyone. You're especially not helping minority voice actors. You're only taking away opportunities, and people recognize that. People hate this authentic casting stuff. In Hollywood, I'm sure, coming up with this idea probably got pats on the back from their coworkers and stuff like that. But to the general audience who's outside of that world and looking at the stuff from the outside, it looks insane, and people hate it, and people think this is racism and segregation. And you can see this quote here, 25,000 likes. So clearly a lot of people agree with this.
Thanks, ProZD and Adi Shankar. Because of you two ass clowns, voice acting has to be segregated.
Thanks, ProZD and Adi Shankar, because of you two ass clowns, voice acting has to be segregated. Imagine this being your legacy. Anytime this sort of issue comes up with this topic, these two names always go with it. And in case you're wondering about...
Damn, I would be so depressed if that was my legacy. I would genuinely not use internet ever again.
We've talked about him recently too. He is the producer for the recently released Devil May Cry anime series on Netflix. He's a very cringe, very weird guy, and a lot of people don't want him on projects because typically when he's involved, things don't go very well. And a lot of people are saying that about the Devil May Cry anime series on Netflix, which was a very weird show But anyways, Adi Shankar is mentioned in the same breath here because he is someone who made a giant public stink about how Apu from The Simpsons wasn't voiced by an actual Indian voice actor, and that caused...
Indians don't even have a problem with that. I mean, Indians in India don't have a problem with that. When I was living in India, a lot of people would crack that joke. Say the voice line he says as a joke.
a lot of uproar in Hollywood, and that's how we got a mainstream propagation of this idea of authentic casting, and he caused a lot of this to become the norm in Hollywood, and this is actually having a negative impact. So ProZD and Adi Shankar, that is their legacy in the voice acting scene for trying to make this sort of destructive logic something more popular than it should be by any definition. But look at the replies on this. This will give you a little breath of fresh air. It'll give you a little hope for humanity that people just are not buying this. This is just random in a row replies here. This is not curated. It's just the first ones that pop up. Trash decision. Disrespectful to the cast that made the show great.
Yeah.
Screw off with this. By that logic, they need to cast actual benders, lest they be inauthentic. Yeah.
Same IQ as our chat.
Yep.
Yes, very good point. No one gives a crap about that. Real fans want the original voice cast. Where do you even find an actor from the Fire Nation? So racism. This is absolutely moronic. They are VAs, not actors. Extremely.
Yep, exactly. And I think the sooner people in the industry will understand you're a voice actor, not an actor, the better and happier everyone is gonna be. There's a distinct difference between a voice actor and an actor. An actor is a person who actually is portraying that character. A voice actor is who modifies their voice to sound like a character, but you're not actually the character.
Stupid. So they got a Tibetan, 2 Inuits, and 2 separate Chinese ethnicities. This is the interesting thing too about Avatar. It's like there's no like real race they're particularly based on. In order to figure out the...
From what I remember watching it, it might have been inspired by like actual countries here and there, but it's like a mishmash of multiple countries inspiring one nation.
Exactly.
Ethnicity of the voice actors to match them up with these characters from the various 4 kingdoms, you would have to kind of guess what they look like.
And that will open a whole different can of worms and issues. You're just guessing what they are.
In terms of a real life counterpart, which doesn't that feel a little racist? You're like, oh, this character based on X, Y, or Z, probably physical characteristics. Yeah, we need a Chinese actor for this one, or we need a Japanese actor for this one. That sounds a bit odd, doesn't it? Doesn't feel right, does it? But anyways, continuing on, and lost all interest in the movie. Screw this nonsense. Why oh why couldn't we have had an Avatar sequel which was about the original team at this age? So let me get this straight. Race swaps in live action's good, but race swaps in voice acting bad.
Thank you.
What are we doing, Hollywood? This is a good one to end on. What are we doing where that is actually the reality we're living in, where race swaps in live action are incredibly common? Just look at the Kakegurui.
Oh, that too. Yeah, the swapping in anime live actions is pretty bad. Look at Death Note adaptation. Oh my god, what they were thinking.
No, why would you?
It's like on the same level of God, get me out of here as Kakegurui. It's
Let me tell you this. Dragon Ball
Oh my god.
Revolution.
Oh my god, that was so bad.
I'm not gonna allow it to. The dude that plays Master Roshi, I'll take it.
Live action that's coming to Netflix as well, called Bet. They did a ton of race swaps, some that end up being incredibly offensive, like race swapping a character that if he loses his bets will become a slave. They race swapped him into a black man. I mean, that is unfortunate for them, but that's their decision, and now they have the awkward consequences to go with it. But how are those live action race swaps so acceptable and honestly celebrated among people in the industry, but then when it comes to voice acting where race doesn't matter whatsoever, trying to get the best talent for the character is somehow all about race. And it has to be authentic to that character, and they have to match up 1-to-1. I think this is all a load of BS. And I think some of these people, right, maybe this casting director included, they go into this with good intentions. Very misguided, but they try to have good intentions. They really do think.
I don't think it's good intentions. I genuinely don't. I'm not saying it's necessarily like evil intentions, but I'm also not naive enough to think it's good intentions. I think it's probably stemming from, look, I'm checking all the boxes. I'm doing everything right, right? I'm the good guy. I think it's stemming more of having like a moral upper hand in situations.
Think they're doing something here. Like they think they're actually changing something for the better. But in reality, it is very destructive. Like I've said, this is a very elaborate way to segregate people based on the color of their skin and limiting and curating their opportunities for no other reason than the color of their skin. That is absolutely wild, and nobody should stand for this. And I'm glad to see some people like ProZD have this stuff blow up in their face when they support it. But anyways,
I hope more people will be talking about it because this is ridiculous. This is bad. Like, genuinely, it makes you feel like everything you grew up with is wrong.